decided he wasn't going to fight there anymore. So he did what I call an end run. He left North Mississippi, caught the trains all the way to Mobile, caught boats across and up the Alabama River, and caught the trains again, and went to Atlanta and Tennessee into Kentucky. Before they even knew, the Yankees even knew they were gone, because they left enough people up there to think they were still there. And that was one of the fastest and longest moves ever made by an army up until that time. There had been moves by the Army of Northern Virginia during the battles up in Northern Virginia that were amazing movement of troops, but this was an entire army moved in about 8 days. Well, to hear these guys talk about it when they went in Kentucky, any of you heard of Munfordville, Kentucky? Glasgow, that's where they were. Cave City. This battle was not even supposed to be fought, and General Chalmers decided he thought he could beat it because there were only 300 guys in the fort, and it ended up being about 2,000. And it was against, breastworks and over walls. It said, you do not charge those things. You can have a fight, but don't make me climb a hill to fight somebody where they got guns. They did. We call that chapter, and it was called that by God. All I know is that we went to Kentucky, and it was like a man-killing expedition. It said nothing was won by it, nothing was, excuse me. He thought they were going to go up there to Kentucky, and were going to help feed them and join them, and they didn't. So as they left, they came back to Knoxville, Tennessee, and one of the groups that was heavily involved in this was called the 9th Mississippi Sharpshooters. Anybody know those 9th Battalion Sharpshooters? Many of those boys were from here. They had originally been in the 7th and some of the other groups. And they put them into these special units to be the advanced snipers and scouts and people that would go out and clear the way. Well, Frank Wilkinson from this county was in that group. And letters came back saying what had happened in that retreat. And I'm going to say this, but it's kind of rough, but they had bushwhackers, which meant they were probably Unionists or outlaws or whatever all along the way. And as they were going, the 9th Battalion Sharpshooter got about 20 of them. And the way he described it, we hung them like sheep killing dogs along the road. Because they were supposed to be fighting with us, and they were trying to kill us. And he said, that's war. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's just like your neighbors here decided to fight against you. You said, no, what? I can't do it anymore. You have got to go. You've got to do right, or we're not going to let you stay around. And that's what they did. Now, after they got back there, the next phase of the battle was Murfreesboro. Anybody heard of that place? Stones River. These guys for 7 days stood on a line of battle with ice, freezing rain, and could not move. They had to stay there. They were being bombarded for those whole 7 days. One of the locals, Ed Caruth, was in the commissary corps. He brought hot food to them under artillery fire. But they didn't all get it. The last day before the battle, the guys who were called the Vedettes, which are the furthest out sentries, couldn't get back to the line because they were so frozen. People had to go out and couple them because they couldn't walk. And guess what they did the next morning? Got up, warmed up, and charged head on into the Yankees, and we were the first unit that crossed that field and into pushing the whole Yankee line around to almost stopping the whole battle. Ran out of ammunition. The guys from this side couldn't win. We pushed them. Ran out of ammunition, had to go back. And the way they described that battle was it was one of the greatest victories we ever had if we had enough people to keep it going. And that's, you can walk away saying you won a battle, but you didn't get it. You just did a good job. That's what they did. But for 3 nights they fought too, over what was called the Round Forest. Anybody heard of that one? It's a pretty small little piece of property. It's called Mississippi's Hell's Half Acre. Because in that half acre for 3 days, it was bombard, take the acres. Bombard, take the acres. Ooh, back and forth. I got to quit using my Italian ancestry skills. But those guys, after the 3rd day of that, one of the guys said that, you know what? I would just as soon, one of the other guys that got in another unit, he announced, he said, you know what, as long as we don't ever have to fight any of them Indians and Kentuckians at night, I'll be all right. Because they were a wild country guys too. They were from used to was they were used to fighting. So he didn't want to fight them anymore. He said, bring me some of those New York City guys. I'll fight them anytime. Now, after you get there, that's the first book. We get to Murfreesboro. Up until that time, we were doing pretty well. We weren't losing, in other words. But from there on, I call it the Great Retreat. That we went into retreat at Shelbyville in Tennessee, had some skirmishes and otherwise, but we ended up having to back up, go to Tullahoma in Tennessee, and then back up to Chattanooga, and go into Bridgeport where we lived across the river from the Yankees, and shot at them and looked at them and talked to them. Then we went into Chattanooga and had a chance to save Chattanooga and keep it, but we didn't win at Chickamauga totally. A lot of our men complained that we should have kept going and run them all the way into the river. That was one of our greatest victories. Chickamauga was a major battle, and if you ever have a chance to go to that battlefield, it's one of the most beautiful, well laid out battlefields in the country. One of the first national parks. It's very natural. After that was Missionary Ridge, which was our worst moment in the war, where we were actually run off the mountain, basically, and had to go back into Georgia. But I'll give you a quick story about a guy from this county, Benjamin F. Johns, who was a captain. He ended up being colonel of he was a colonel at that time, lieutenant colonel, but he had the 9th sharpshooters with him in 3 companies of the 7th. They were on the far right down in the valley. And if you've ever been to Lookout Mountain, and you look across and see a flat mountain and a big ridge up there, it was 400 yards from that place he was to the bottom of the ridge, and then almost straight up. One fellow said that they held that position until they were overrun almost, and he said, I'm not going to be sent to Camp Chase. I'm leaving. They can shoot me in the back. We're all going to try to get out of here. And they ran 400 yards across that field and survived it, and went to the top of the mountain. By the time they got up there, they were too tired to fight, and there wasn't enough of them, and they left. But he basically said, I'm not staying. And a lot of guys got out. They lost about 16 men there. Just got captured. They couldn't go anymore. Too tired. Now, after Missionary Ridge, from then on, it was nothing. We got to get ourselves together. And that's when Joe Johnson came along. He had been in Mississippi. He had been in Virginia. He had already lost at Vicksburg, basically. They lost Mississippi, but he was still respected. And when Uncle Joe came along, we had a chance, we thought. The morale was way low. These guys, their letters were real sad. They were real not going to work. This is going to be bad. The war and everything. And he came in and got them back into an army again. In fact, the flag you see over here was the Johnson flag. That was the last flag that they had in the war. He gave out new flags in Dalton, Georgia. And you can see the themes of the battles stopped at Chickamauga, because that was the last time they got to put stitches on a battle. And they only didn't win one. And in fact, they lost that at Jonesboro. Well, this whole Dalton time, and I'm going to tell you, I'm in a Presbyterian church right now, but I'll tell you, these guys were as faithful as any men I've ever seen. The way they wrote, the way they talked of their faith. There was a revival in this army in 3 or 4 different occasions where as many as 80 people would be baptized in a day. I have to give Colonel Ball from 41st Mississippi, who was also a preacher, a lot of credit, because he was one of the strongest preachers in the regiment and in the brigade. And so there were many times he's mentioned the preacher. And the preacher would be at the next company, and they'd come over from the other regiment or the other brigade, and the diaries, you hear them all the time. A.F. Davis, Fred Davis from this county, Company K, he was captain. Almost every Wednesday of his diary, preaching at night. And on Sunday, he'd be preaching, washing. You got to preach and wash. That was what you did on Sunday. They tried not to fight in those days. They could. And one man even said the reason we lost in Shiloh was because we attacked on Sunday. And they'd already lost one other battle. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Fisher's Creek or something, somewhere where they fought on Sunday. And the guy said, well, see, we should have done that. But all through this war, you'll see these guys wiping out. One guy, George Lee, from this regiment, from this county, Company C, he actually joined the church while he was there in Dalton. And minutes back in the church here in town noted it. He and another fellow, and of course the other fellow's name was obscured in the writing, but that happened a lot. Now, as the war went on, the next major battles were around Atlanta. They were in Atlanta for 100 days. And their normal description of Atlanta was, we built breastworks, we moved. Skirmishing in the morning, cannon at night. Built new breastworks, moved. After we got there, we moved. 100 yards to the west, 3 miles to the east. Backing up, backing up, backing up. 100 and something days, and they were either fighting or skirmishing or marching the whole time. And after the Battle of Atlanta, where a real sad day for this county, William Nunnery, I don't know if we have any Nunnery relatives in here. William J. Nunnery was the color bearer with the 7th Mississippi. He was killed at Atlanta on the breastworks. Company C had 8 men wounded or killed out of 15.